So this is a little tag video, and I was tagged by Scott the Centurion, and it's just about basically why should women be the only ones to wear florals? There's plenty of brilliant ones out there, and men can wear florals too, if they're real men, that is. You know, I'm only joking with that, but yeah, wear what you want. I'm not going to get into it because everyone knows what I already feel about this, and I obviously have quite a massive floral collection because that's my taste. It's not masculine or feminine, it's just my taste. Now I'm going to try and be as brief as possible and keep this video relatively short, so I'll do my tags out of the way. Now, I understand some of the people in this list are super busy and won't have time and that, and some of you might not want to do it or whatever. Completely fine with me, I understand. So anyway, yeah, I want to, first of all, Chris, I know you're very busy, but fragmental, just because you have such a big collection, and really you're kind of responsible for me getting into jasmine. Next one is Trusted Nose. Just a great guy, and he's got quite a collection, and I think he'd be able to add quite a lot to this. Then there is Service Fragrances, Andreas, who just Andreas, if you know of him. Fantastic guy, and he has quite an open-minded, wide taste in different things. Then Brandon, who is Da Vinci's Alchemist. And again, he's got such a wide collection of indie fragrances, and he's very into trying slightly different things. And no, you know, we're not stereotyping or saying you have to be a certain something or other, but of manly men, I think that you can't deny that Brandon is a man's man. And then I want to tag Javier Fantastico, because he's got lots and lots of different fragrances from a different cultural background in that, so it'll be interesting to see that. And finally, the woman I'll go be tagging, the same as Scott, who might be able to give floral fragrances she likes on men, is Tara of Factophiles, and she also has a great channel. They all do. Anyway, into the video. Just a couple of kind of honourable mentions. I won't go into detail about too much of them because I spoke about them before and done the video too long. But first honourable mention is for a girl from Pocket Sense. Already mentioned that in a recent one. Oh, it's only an honourable mention because I've only kind of wore the sample to death and just recently got the bottle, so I'd like to go into a bit more depth about it. But basically it's a beautiful, fluffy, irisy, gorgeous floral fragrance. And then these two I'm kind of putting together, but again, because I've only sampled them, is Frederic Malle's Carnal Flower and Fragrance de Bois Eau Jaune Intense. Now they're not the same, but they have the same idea. They're both tropical florals, and they kind of go down that kind of florals by the side of a beach. They're very warm. The florals are more kind of got that little bit of saltiness in them, so they've got a little bit of punch in them, and they're both completely kind of fantastically sit in the middle if you think there's a kind of gender thing. Just fantastic fragrances. Eau Jaune is more fruity and has a kind of fruity element to it, whereas Carnal Flower kind of sits along the more floral side of it, but neither of them are particularly flowery or anything like that anyway. So the first one on the list, they're not really in any order, although number one, is Lilin from a Romanian indie company called Collage, and the perfumer is Miguel Matos. Now if you're aware of Miguel's work, he's one of these brilliant people who kind of fuses the vintage with the modern, and this fragrance, oh, it's a rad. It's kind of centered around, like the description, is a salty tuberose. So it is like Carnal Flower a little bit, but it's more, this is more refined, this is different, this is more interesting. It goes through a whole journey, but it's basically about this kind of beach tuberose. There's jasmine as well. It is very floral scented, white floral, but again, and there's musks in it, but again it's not overly, it's not flowery. It's a white floral, yes, but because of all the other elements to it, it's not flowery at all. It's just a beautiful, fresh, exotic, and even refreshing, which you don't often find with a lot of floral fragrances. It's very refreshing, like a cool breeze off the coast. So yeah, that's Lilin from Collab. Next, going along a similar path to that, you could probably see a theme with the ones I love, is Good Girl Gone Bad Eau Fraiche from Kilian. And again, this is a kind of aquatic-y white floral, but it is kind of more based around the tuberose is a bigger one, but I get a lot more of a fresher, beautiful soft jasmine. This one's a lot softer. It's a lot more like a Mediterranean warm breeze over here, and that's kind of what his influence for it was. It's got a little bit of the DNA of Good Girl Gone Bad, obviously, but it doesn't have the osmanthus. I think there is a touch of osmanthus in it, but the osmanthus is much sharper in the original, and that's taken out of this. This is a much gentler, kind of more serene fragrance. And again, it's one of them that kind of makes me, don't get me wrong, it's very strong, still very strong. 1 or 2 sprays at most. But it kind of gives that kind of calm feeling you want on a hot day, you know what I mean? It gives you that bit of a fresh breeze, and the aquatic touch isn't too much, but it's got that more of a blue smell, like a blue sea than a salty smell. So that's Good Girl Gone Bad Eau Fraiche from Kilian. I mean, all of these you could all predict, but next is Bois d'Argent, and that's from Dior. Oh, this was obviously I tried an inspired by version of this first, but this was literally love at first sniff. This is a greener floral. It's got quite a lot of pine and things supporting it, but it's mainly about the iris, and it's a fluffy light iris, like a really kind of florally, petally, beautiful soft with the vanilla and the woods, the bois part of it. It's just absolutely magnificent. Yeah, sorry about that. It's just like what I'd describe as a cloud in the sky, and the green elements makes this a kind of spring autumn fragrance to me a bit, and I think it can be carried off in summer as well, because it's kind of fresh, and it's just the tiniest sweetness from the iris, but it's all about being a fluffy kind of woody greenish cloud. This is Question Insect's Matt's favourite, well, his starter fragrance, and go watch his review about this one because you get a lot more detail and love about that. Okay, there. Next on the list is 100 Silent Ways from Nishane. Now these last 3 all have little touches in common. Now this is it's a soft, it's more musky, more, I think it's got ambrette in it. The others do. This one I'm pretty sure does. It's got like a soft, beautiful, mellow tuberose. It's definitely got jasmine in it, and it's just like a second skin, like a veil around you. It's got little sweetnesses. There's like a little peachy touch in it and things like that. And it's a floral, but it's more like you've rubbed these flowers all over your skin, or you're wearing a nice soft cotton material made with the flowers woven in. It's very beautiful, and the musks make it unbelievably sensual, and it's beautiful. So that's 100 Silent Ways from Nishane. Then, come on, who didn't know this one was coming? Rolling in Love from Kilian. That goes along the same kind of path as 100 Silent Ways. It's a different fragrance. The ambrette is much more pronounced in this one, and it's the one I will always describe as a kiss, a soft kiss. It just gives you that tingle through the lips. It lingers. It's based for the musks is the main player, but the soft florals, again, jasmine. Not a lot of stuff is listed on it, but there are definitely a mixture of white florals in there. There may even, I think Orange Blossom is another one giving it that sweetness, that softness, again not listed, and especially in the opening it has the same similar-ish opening to Love, obviously a lot mellower and a lot more sensual than that, but it's just a beautiful fragrance. This is one that you would wear just to be around someone because they all want to inhale you and envelop you. It's very classy, it's very beautiful. It is meant to be a skin scent, if you like, a second skin scent. That doesn't mean that you can't smell it, but it is meant to sit close to you after about an hour or so, and it does, and you're surrounded by a cloud. And the last two, both designers, so surprise you there. First up is Mugler's Alien. Now, there are lots of different flankers and formulations. I struggle with Alien, the original, the EDP. It's very strong on me. But for a very confident man, or if you go for the EDT, it's just this beautiful, so unique at the time, dark jasmine. Not dirty or anything, just dark and beautiful, and it's so, I don't like using the word sexy, but it is so sexy, and it smells just as good on a man as it does on a woman, obviously. And it's got a lot of white musk in it as well, which makes it, just kind of adds an edge to it and adds it, if you like, and it sounds like a contradiction, but I think the white musk, the way it's used, makes it even a little darker. Just a beautiful. So finally, you all knew it was coming, didn't you? There's Black Opium from Yves Saint Laurent. What can I say about this fragrance? I've been honest, I'll say I can never wear the original, but I've got inspired buys that are very good. But this on anyone, on a man, on a woman, it's pure heaven in a bottle. It's dark from the little hints of coffee. I don't get a lot of coffee, but it adds darkness. There's vanilla. But again, it's mainly about the jasmine. And it's not a flowery jasmine again, it's quite a dark, sensual, beautiful jasmine. And I think that there will be other floral notes in there, but it's mainly about that jasmine. And I don't even need to waffle on about it, do I? Everyone will know this fragrance. It is quite sweet. Some people hate it, can't imagine it, but they do. And it's very common, and you smell it everywhere around. But doesn't take away for me that it's just heaven. And this is, again, all of these, I don't need to say them. They're all unisex, whether they've been marketed as female fragrances or unisex or whatever. What nonsense, they're all for anyone. Anyway, I'm not going to waffle on about that. So yeah, that's the video finished. What about yourselves? What florals do you think men can really rock? What fragrances smell absolutely fantastic on them? I know there's still that perception that certain things are for certain genders. I'm not gonna get into it or argue about it, but what do you think that for people who aren't as used to being that open-minded, what do you think would smell good on them? I mean, obviously in my list there, I've missed out rose completely. Well, that's probably because I tend to warm towards a more white floral thing. But there are other very famous white florals. There's the Dior Homme line. Well, not white florals, but the floral, isn't it, with the iris? Dior Homme. There's Amouage's Lyric Man and Reflection Man. One's a more soapy rose. One's a kind of sweet, vibrant, kind of almost aromatic jasmine. So there are many, aren't there? And it's just about breaking down that wall. Anyway, it was very brief, very quick into them. I've mentioned most of the fragrances enough times not to bore you with all the details of them. But yeah, if you're a bloke, you don't need to go crazy. You don't need to rub yourself in a bouquet of flowers, because you might not be comfortable with that. Try them out. Try your missus's perfume. It doesn't smell the same off her as it will off you. And if you've got the confidence, you can carry it on. And if you're missing a whole section of fragrances, i.e. florals, because you think they're just for a certain person, then you're really missing out. And in other cultures, such as like the Middle East and stuff, florals and sweet fragrance, you know, they're a kind of staple for men there, very proudly. And you wouldn't say they don't smell manly in inverted commas. It's a very Western perception. But anyway, let me know anyway, what do you think? What have you wore? Thanks folks.